A very good afternoon to one and all present here in this 10th virtual meeting. First of all, I would like to express my sincere thanks to all the participants who have joined today this virtual meeting on research and scholarly communication. We have today with us Mr. Nikesh Narayanan. I request all the participants to join me to welcome Mr. Nikesh Narayanan. Before we start the session, I would like to give a brief introduction about Mr. Nikesh, who is working as an assistant professor and information technology librarian at Jayed University. He is a library system expert with specialization in web scale discovery solutions, LSP and ILS implementation, remote access repositories, institutional ORCID API implementation, and research data management. He secured MTech in information systems and management with a gold medal from the University of Moscow. Besides, he has master degree in library and information science and also business studies. Before joining Jayed University, UAE, Mr. Nikesh served as system librarian at Khalifa University, Abu Dhabi, and took a lead role in the implementation of ILS, discovery, remote access, and repository system. Mr. Nikesh has extensive experience leading the technical operation at EBSCO, serving as EBSCO discovery engineer, and he has implemented over 100 EBSCO discovery profiles across India and South Asia to deliver seamless and integrated discovery user experiences in libraries. We are really honored to have you here, sir, and I am 100% sure that all the participants who are joining today will be benefited with your experience and knowledge. May I now request you, sir, to please take over and deliver your speech. We all welcome you, sir, to this 10th virtual meeting.
Okay.
Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tripathi, for the kind introduction. And a warm welcome to all participants for this webinar. And a warm greetings from Abu Dhabi. I'm living in Abu Dhabi. I work for Zayed University, Dubai. As due to lockdown, I'm working from home now. So again, warm welcome. So shall I share my screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You please carry on. You can go ahead.
Mr. Tripathi, the host disabled participant screen sharing. Can you enable it?
Yeah, I can just. You can share the screen now.
Yeah, sure. Am I audible now?
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay. So once again, welcome all of you. So today's topic is role of libraries in supporting research and scholarly communication. One minute, please. I have some technical issues. 1 minute, please hold on. 1 minute. I'm sorry for the trouble. I have some
it's okay, sir.
connection issues here.
No
yeah,
issue.
Sorry. I'll start sharing again.
Yeah.
Uh, I cannot get the full screen that I was looking for. Now only I can share the. So you can view my screen, right?
Yeah, it's visual.
But it's not the full screen.
You can just, shall I make it slideshow?
Yeah, it's okay now. Yeah. It's a full screen now, right?
Yeah, it's a full screen.
Okay. So when we talk about the research support, libraries can support researchers in many ways. Normally, a research start with literature search, and that's the process going through up to the end of the research process, up to writing of the thesis. And these, in addition to the literature search support, libraries can provide information literacy and reference service, then facilitates training in citation tools. And also we can guide in publishing research papers, where to publish the research. And we can guide them in managing research profiles. We will discuss all these points in the coming slides. And we will discuss a bit about roles in research data management. That's one of the widely discussed topics in India now. The research data management has started even in the year 2000, even before 2010, more than 10 years, but now it's a hot topic in India. So about literature search, when we talk about literature search, the content is most important matter. But I'm not going to talk about content because it's the primary function of any library to provide adequate content or resources for its researchers. So that part, apart from that part, when we have a lot of content, the next stage is make available that content in an easy way. That means searchable content. So I'm just giving an example here. A big university library, we all know, Harvard University Library, which is one of the best libraries in the world and one of the best universities in the world as per the QS ranking and other university rankings. So just look at their database list. They have more than 5,397 databases. So I'm sure we don't have so much data, so many databases in Indian libraries, but big university libraries in India, I'm sure they must have more than 100 to 200 databases. So when we have a lot of content, it is very difficult for the researchers to find his information from that content. For example, Indian universities get a lot of content through InfluMnet consortium, and they have their own resources. Then they have their books, library opaque, various ebook collection, e-journal publishing portals like Elsevier, Springer, Wiley, Taylor and Francis, Emerald. Probably they subscribe many other resources too. Then aggregated full text from bibliographic databases and also from EBSCO and ProQuest. Then abstract and indexes like Web of Science and Scopus. So as a researcher, it's very difficult to decide where to start his search. If I'm a researcher, that would be my problem too. So when we think in the point of view of a researcher, it is very difficult for us. So what's the solution? Normally what researchers do, they would go to Google Scholar or just Google search, or they would go to some databases which they know. For example, the well-known databases like Science Direct and Springer, Wiley, Taylor and Francis, etc. And other databases, they won't use at all, even though the library subscribe to that. So these are some of the adverse consequences of not having a search solution, dissatisfied users, and underutilized resources. Probably your library subscribe many resources from small publishers like Society Publishers, Harvard University Press, Princeton Press. These are all very, very rich content and very, research-oriented studies. So your users are going to miss all those information if they do not know about that source. and it is impossible for a researcher to go each and every resources to find this information. So what's the solution? We need to provide, library need to think about to provide a single point of entry to all content and services offered by the library. This is very important. Otherwise, we will face the issue what we mentioned earlier. So when we talk about a simple solution, it looks very simple, but it's not very simple. There are a lot of work we need to perform to provide such a solution. So there are different single search technologies. One is federated search software, and the second one is web scale discovery tools. So the federated search technologies is very old technology, which is started in the late 1990s. So that means around more than 20 years or around 20 years. So how it works is that, you can see it in the picture here, the diagram. When we perform a search, it goes simultaneously to each and every resources. For example, if I search for COVID-19, it goes to Web of Science, it goes to Taylor and Francis, it goes to EBSCOhost, Science Direct, Springer, Taylor and Francis at the real time, and it fetches the results from those databases and throws to the result list screen. That's the way it works. But when we look at, in the peripheral way, we think that, oh, this is the best solution. But federated search is not a best solution, because there are a lot of disadvantages is there for federated search. We will discuss the disadvantages. The one of the most problem is that it's very slow, because real time it needs to go each and every resources. And at the same time, if one of the connector has some issues, for example, when I perform a search and at the same time Elsevier server is down for a split of a second, our solution will not get result from Elsevier. So users are going to miss the content from Elsevier or some other resources or some other database which are off or which has a connection issues. So, but the users would think that he's getting all the information from all publishers. That is one of the problem. And the second problem is the system is very slow. And also, when we talk about the single search solution, one of the important parameter is the relevancy ranking. So when you get results from various databases, they have different metadata, they have different relevancy ranking. So in order to combine these results, it is very difficult to apply a relevance ranking algorithm for these results. So that is not a very ideal solution. Then people started thinking about Google custom search, but that's also not very good. You can limit your search to your desired resources. Like, I just created a link only for Science Direct, Springer, and Emerald. But the problem is that you cannot limit to your subscription only. For example, you may not subscribe all Science Direct content. You might be subscribing only 10 or 50 journals. So you can limit, but there are some difficulties for that. So custom search is also not a good solution. Then is the web scale discovery services. That is the latest technology. Latest technology means it started in the year 2010 or 2009, 10, that period. So the difference between web scale discovery and federated search is that federated search, the real-time search, the search is in the real time, that when you search something, it goes directly to each and every resources. But in this picture, you can see that system has created a central index here, as like Google index. What Google does, Google crawlers fetch the information from all the website and create a big central index. And your search is against that central index. The same way for the web scale discovery services, it has a central index and it fetch information from all the databases, pre-harvested information, we can call it. It is not automatic harvesting. There are various technologies for that. One is automatic harvesting like OAI-PMH technology, and the discovery service providers have agreement with all the publishers. When I say all the publishers, most of the publishers, and they have an agreement to send their data to the repository, web scale discovery provider. It might be due to, it may be sharing through FTP files or some other means of transferring data. So the big difference is that you have a central index and your search is against the central index. So it's very fast compared to the federated search solution, and you are not going to miss anything. But there is one drawback to web scale discovery solution also. For example, when a publisher publishes data on its server, for example, Science Direct, they publish an article today. Probably it takes 1 or 2 days to get the data into this discovery service. That 2 days difference that you have to bear, because they need to transfer the data and make available in the discovery service. That's the only one difficulty with the web scale discovery service. Another thing is that you can integrate your local index, like your library OPAC and also institutional repository, and make available for search along with the central index data. So everything in this one, through a single search box, you can search everything: e-journals, e-books, your local library catalog, your institutional repository, everything you can search. And also in discovery service providers index all the open source data that are available across the world from DOAJ and all other open source repositories. They provide you data. So you will have better chance to get more information. There are some drawbacks to web scale discovery service that we are not going to discuss here, that we will discuss in another session, because this is the section for to discuss about how can we support the researchers. So these are some of the difference between discovery and federated search engine. We have already discussed some points like slow, and it's difficult to calculate or the relevance ranking in the web scale discovery service. It is easy to calculate the relevancy ranking, but in federated search it's difficult. So I will share this screen, and I will share this presentation with Mr. DP Triwadi, and you can have this. So I'm not discussing much about the difference between discovery and federated search engines. We are moving to another slide. So we have discussed for easy access to the research content, we need to provide some search solution. Also, we need to provide library links on Google Scholar. We know that many researchers like to use, or they prefer to use, Google Scholar as their search solution, because when we compare Google Scholar with other discovery search solutions, in my personal experience, it's one of the best. So we need to provide some facilities to link back to our library. So how can we do that? There is a facility called library links in Google Scholar. I will explain this. If you go to the settings of the Google Scholar, then you would find library links there, and you can search for your university and save your settings. But the prerequisite is that your university or your research institution should have a web scale discovery service or a link resolver. So only with the help of a link resolver, we can set it up, the Google Scholar link. So after the setting up, when you search something, you can see here, I have circled it, I have highlighted it. You can see here on the right hand side, full text at Zahid University. So if I search something, if that article is available in my university, you can see that link. You can just click on that link and get the full text article. You need not go to web scale discovery service, or you need not go to the resources, for example, Science Director Springer page directly, but you can directly access from the Google Scholar. But as I mentioned, the prerequisite is that your university should subscribe a link resolver software, which is available along with discovery service. You can check with the provider, even without buying a discovery service, can you have a link resolver software. Then open access resources, as I mentioned, almost all open access resources are available through discovery service. But if you do not have a discovery service in your library, then you can think about listing all the open access resources on your web page, the main open access resources. So many publishers, many commercial publishers have their own open access page. I mean, they publish open access journals too. For example, Elsevier, Springer, Wiley, Taylor and Francis, all these big publishing groups, they have open access journals. So they have given separate links for accessing open access books and open access journals. You can provide those links on your website. And these are some of the open access journals list. And you can also provide open access repositories. These are some of the examples: Core, Directory of Open Access Repositories, EBSCO Open Access Dissertations. So I have provided some links. You can check it, and if you find it useful, you can provide it on your library page. But if you are using a discovery service, I think no need to list all these repositories and e-journals on your site, because most of them are available through discovery service, or you can check what are available and what are not available. And there are some other tools like for specific search engines, like for searching research data, you can provide Google data search or Harvard database or Mendeley data. I haven't mentioned here. There are some research data searching tools, and also you can deposit your research data into that repository. And for the dissertation thesis, PQDT, Open Door, Open PQDT, some of the dissertation thesis websites. And for the patents, you can search in the US patent full text databases, and I have provided some other links too. And now we have our content, and also we have a discovery solution, and all the data or all the resources are available in our campus. That's the case, but due to lockdown and other other necessities, it is now important to provide remote access to the users, because most of the time they spend in their home or outside the campus. So it is important to provide remote access to the researchers. So we have many solutions for the research remote access. You have installed solution, and you have cloud-based services. The EC proxy and other proxy services, Shibboleth, etc., you can install in your library or in your institution. Also, it is available in cloud. So Open Athens is one of the example of a remote access solution which is available in cloud, and EC proxy is also available in cloud. In my university, inside the university, we are using EC proxy, which is on cloud. Then in India, there is a solution called remote access, which is also available in cloud, and Muse proxy is another solution. Another thing is important aspect is providing information literacy and reference services to the users. We have seen that in my experience, I have seen that even the researchers, sometimes they do not know where to go or where to find the resources. So we might think that they have finished their masters and now doing research, but some researchers are still confused to to know about how to get the resources, which is the best source for getting the resources. So information literacy, as you all know, basically tells how to teach, or it's an it tells you how to find information, how to evaluate information, and how to make use of information. So as librarians, we need to provide periodic information literacy classes to our research scholars and also to other students. And we can provide all this information in our library guides. We can set up some library guides. We are using a solution called LibGuides, which is a subscription-based service, because when we provide, after providing the information literacy classes, probably they may not memorize, or they don't remember what we have already mentioned, or so it's always better to provide it in on a guide, in the library guide. So Subject Plus is another open source tool for making guides. I think in Mr. Tripadi's institution, they are making use of that guide. That's also a good solution. I think he has already given some, provided some workshop on Subject Plus. I'm not sure, or you can approach him for that. And Credo Infolit is another solution. There's a typo error there. So it's an online solution for providing information literacy sessions. In my university, we are using Credo Infolit. Credo Reference is another one. So Infolit is especially for the information literacy sessions. Then, of course, after collecting their information or research papers, so we need to support them how to manage their references. There are some open source tools. So I don't want to explain it all, because I'm sure all you know about Mendeley, Zotero, and EndNote-Web. These are some of the free solutions. EndNote-Web means it's free along with Web of Science. If your institution subscribe Web of Science, EndNote-Web version is free. But Mendeley is one of the best tool. In my personal experience, it's one of the best tool. And in my university library, we are using RoughWorks. It's a subscribed solution. And EndNote the desktop version is also you need to subscribe, but web version is free along with Web of Science. And reference desk, many university libraries and in almost all research institutions, they have in-person reference desk, and users or researchers can approach them for any doubt. But we need to provide the online reference tools also, especially during this lockdown time. They cannot come to library. So if you have an online chat facility, you can incorporate that on your reference service, and you can provide a link on your website so that users can approach you through the chatting. So we subscribe, in my library, we subscribe LibChat solution from SpringShare, but there are some open source chat solutions. You can research on that, and you can incorporate on your website. And now we have discussed how can we support researchers in finding their information. Now they have finished their research, and we need to support them. And during the course of the research also, we need to support them to publish their research work. So this is very important. Publishing is very important. So publishing of research finding is crucial to share your findings with others, and it also affects the visibility of your research. So there are a lot of predatory journals. I'm sure all of you are aware of that. They just publish their journals just for making money. So we should not leave our researchers to publish their research output in predatory journals, and we should teach them or make them aware that which is the best journal for them, and is there a peer-reviewed process, and what's the quality of the publication, and if it is a journal, do you know the impact factor of the journal? So we need to teach them all of this aspect. in my university, my colleague has provided, developed a guide for that. I have given the link of that guide. So in that guide, she has mentioned all the parameters for evaluation of a journal and how can you find the best journals in your subject area. In the same way, in your library, you can make library guides for this purpose. If you do not have a LibGuide solution, you can start with that open source solution called what you call the research. I mentioned that time, I forgot. So subject plus guide, you can make use of that guide. So how to find and evaluate journals? There are various tools for finding the best journals in your subject area. One is SciMago Journal and Country Rank. It's a free and open access one. Then Scopus Journal List. This one is also open access. Even though you do not have subscription to Scopus, you can access Scopus Journal List. And Web of Science Master Journal List. And all the big publishers, not all the big publishers, many of the big publishers have their own tool to find your best journals. For example, if you paste your abstract on the tool, the tool would tell you which is the best journal or the list of journals the tool will provide you, and you can consider for publishing. And Elsevier has such a tool, Wiley, Springer, and SJ Finder, journalguide.com, and all of these lists that I have mentioned here that you can make use of. And we have mentioned about predatory journals, and you can check whether a journal is included in the predatory list. It's called the Cabell's whitelist. For that, you need a subscription for that. And you can also check for the Indian scientists, they can also check whether your journal is included in the UGC care list. This is the SciMago journal ranking portal homepage. You can search for your filter in your subject area. For example, I have mentioned economics and econometrics. So that would provide me a list of journals on the ranked basis, which is listed here. And you can see the H index of each journal and how many total citations received for that journal. And you can select the best journals from this area. And another point is that in SciMago journal ranking, they categorize journals in 4 categories: Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. So the best journals are categorized or placed in the Q1. So when you publish articles, just make sure that, if possible, publish in Q1 or Q2 journals, and don't try to publish in Q3 or Q4 journals, because the chance of getting citations are more when you publish in highly ranked journals, because most of the institutions subscribe to that journal, and many other researchers, they always refer to that journal. So the chance of getting citations are more if you publish in Q1 and Q2 journals. So it's not very easy to publish in Q1 and Q2 journals, but try your best to get published in those journals. And when we talk about open access publications, it's very important if you are able to publish in open access publications. So don't publish in a journal just because that journal is open access. You need to check the quality of the journal, and you have now the SciMago journal ranking or other tools to check the quality and also the impact factor of that journal. So if it is a good journal, please prefer to publish in open access journals, because the visibility of your publications would be more if you publish in open access journals. Basically, there are 3 kinds of open access. One is pure gold open access journals. So in this kind of type of journals, articles are peer reviewed, and after publishing your articles in pure open access, gold open access journals, you can reproduce it or you can publish elsewhere. Not publish, you can deposit your articles in your institutional repository or in your social media site, there is no restriction for that. You can share your full text. And the hybrid journal means, for example, Elsevier or Springer or other publishers, they publish a journal, a mix of articles. Some articles are paywalled articles and some articles are open access articles. So those types of journals are known as hybrid journals. And green open access means you can publish it as paywall journals, but you have the right to deposit your reprints of your articles in your repository. You should not deposit the final article, but you can deposit the articles just before the peer review. So that kind of freedom is there for the researcher or the author. But in the pure golden open access, you are free to publish it anywhere, or free to show it anywhere, or free to deposit the full text anywhere in your social media site or in your institutional repositories. So before publishing, you have to check the license, whether you have gold open access or you have green open access license. And when you publish in open access journals, normally the publisher will ask you the publishing cost, because their business model for the paywall journal is that they get money from the libraries and through subscription. But for open access journal, they are not going to get any money for through subscription. So they need to charge to the authors itself. So they charge the authors, and that's known as APC, article publishing cost. And some university have institutional agreement with the publisher to pay the APC. In my university, we have started that process. In some other universities in UAE, they have agreement with publishers, so that the institution would pay the APC, and they would get some discounts. For example, if you are paying 100 rupees for APC, I'm paying an amount. It's not 100. It's a big amount as an APC for publishing an article. If you have an institutional agreement, probably you will get it for 60 rupees. And there are various models of institutional agreement, and I'm not sure in the status in India. For that, you need to, your research office or your department needs to contact the publisher for and sign an agreement with the publisher. And these are some of the open access journals we have already discussed, and we discussed about the predatory journals also. And some of you might heard about Beale's list of predatory journals, but it ceased publication in 1997 or 2001. 2017. So this list was deactivated in 2017 due to some legal issues and threat from publishers for including their journals in the list. So he decided to end the Beale's list, or he deactivated the Beale's list. And now Cable's directories is available, but you need to subscribe for getting Cable's directories. So we have already discussed about predatory journals. So in order to make aware all these parameters and all these points, you can create, you can have author workshops, and your universities or research institutions can start writing centers for the researchers to equip them to write better articles, and you can help them in better their English language, and also to help them where to publish and how to write a manuscript, and also some submission procedures and publication ethics. You can conduct some workshops, and if our librarians are not very good in these areas, you can invite some external experts to provide some workshop. Normally, publishers always do such workshop free of cost, and you can approach publishers to do some other workshop for your researchers. That would be very, very helpful for them. And after publishing the research data, we discussed about how to search for information and how to publish the research work. And after publishing the research work, it's important to make visible about the researcher's profile. Then only they would get attention from outside the world and their research would be noticed, or showcase their work to the world. And manage publication list. Libraries can help them to make aware them how to create a research profile and what are all the possible options for that. And these are the 4 important research profiles. One is ORCID and Scopus Author ID and Google Scholar profile and PubLaunch. So probably you might have heard about ORCID, and many of you have already created ORCID for your profile. And ORCID is basically a unique ID for a researcher. What's the need of an ORCID? Actually, names are very messy. If I publish an article, I can publish N Narayanan or Nikesh N. There are variations in names. For example, I have given an example here: Matthew J. Bice, MJ Bice, M. Bice, Matthew John Bice. All of these are one person, but he published in different names. So what's the problem with that? When those articles get indexed in Scopus, Scopus will create multiple author ID for that person. So when you search, click on an author ID, it will not give you all his articles. He might have different author IDs. So it's very important to have a single identifier. So ORCID does that. You can create an ORCID within 30 seconds. It's very easy. Then you can add, after just creating an ORCID is not enough. Then you need to import your data from various sources to your ORCID. You can import it from Scopus, Web of Science, Crossref, Google Scholar, and more. I will show some example at the end of the session, and all the details are given in my link guide. And when I share my PowerPoint presentation with you, you can go to the link guide and see how can you download data from various sources to your ORCID. Then Google Scholar citation. It's very easy and it's open access. Anybody can create his Google Scholar citation. Just go to Google Scholar and sign in. There is option to create profiles and then harvest your information from through Google Scholar. So then once you create your Google Scholar profile, Google Scholar will update your information when you publish new articles. There are options. You can off that option. If you enable that option, the Google Scholar will update automatically when you publish new articles, and you can check periodically, and if some error or something is there, you can always edit that information. And when Google Scholar update your information, you will get an automatic mail regarding that. Then at that time you can go and check your profile. And Scopus Author ID. Scopus Author ID is a bit different because we cannot create Scopus Author ID in Scopus. It's automatic. When an author publishes first article or his first article get indexed in Scopus, Scopus will create an ID for him. So here name is very important. When you have name variations, Scopus will create different IDs. So now onwards, create an ORCID, and whenever you publish, advise the user to provide or advise the researcher to provide that ORCID to the publisher. So you can integrate that ORCID with Scopus and your name will be identified. So ORCID integration is one of the solutions to avoid name variations in Scopus. So these are some of the steps to how to create, how to find your ORCID in Scopus. So at the end of the presentation, I will show you Google Scholar, how to download your data from Google Scholar, and also the Scopus. So I'm skipping this page now. And third one is PubLaunch. PubLaunch is from Web of Science. You can create your profiles in Publon, and you can enter the information about publications, citation metrics from the Web of Science, peer reviews, and journal editing works of one person can be located in one profile. And also you can give your all details in Publons, and also peer review, your willingness to peer review. There is an academy called Publons Academy. They have a course, so you need to pass that course. Then you would be a recognized peer review person, and other publications may approach you for their peer review. So you need to take this Publon Academy course. It's a 10-module course. You need to pass that course. It's a free open access one. Just try this link and pass those 10 modules, and give your willingness to peer review others' articles. So these are some of the opportunities. You can network with expert peer reviewers and editors, and learning how the peer review process works, performing real review with mentors' guidance. So in order to pass the module, you need to have a mentor who already has an account in Publon Academy. So you need to find a mentor from your institution. So he needs to approve you. Endorsement by a mentor. So after creating a Publon account, let's see how it looks. It would show your publications, how many times you got cited, your publications got cited, what's your H-index, and how many reviews you have made, etc. And facilitating and training in citation management tools. It's like Web of Science Corpus. If your institution subscribe to Web of Science Corpus, you can train them how to find their H-index, and how to find other citation metrics, etc. And you can introduce Google Scholar also, which is an open access one, and how to find H-index from Google Scholar, how to create your profiles in Google Scholar, etc. But some institutions, especially in my university, they don't count your H-index from Google Scholar, because Google Scholar index all articles. There is no vetting process there. But in Web of Science and Scopus, they have a editorial policy. They include only those journals which they treat or they consider as best journals in each subject field. So in my university, they consider H-index or citation metrics from Web of Science or Scopus, and not from Google Scholar. And there are some altmetrics tools also. Altmetrics means in Web of Science and Scopus, they consider only citations from other articles. But in the altmetrics, they consider the social media tweets, or or mentioning, or the sharing. All those counts you can see from the altmetrics tools. Now the Scopus has integrated, and also Web of Science has integrated altmetrics tools on that platform, and along with the citation data, you can view the altmetrics data also. And in many discovery service providers like EBSCO Discovery Service, Summon Discovery Service, they also integrated altmetrics tools on that platform. And one of the main metrics is H-index. You need to tell the importance of H-index to the researchers. In my university, they consider H-index is one of the important parameters for evaluating faculty research. So H-index is basically, I will show with an example. It's a scientist has H-index. H of his papers have at least H citations. So that is confusing. When you see an example, that would be clear. For example, I have 12 articles. I have published 12 articles. One of my articles received 87 citations, and my second article got 70 citations, and my fifth article got 19, sixth article got 15, seventh article got 10 citations, and my 8 of my articles received at least 8 citations or more. I have highlighted here. That means at least 8 of my articles received 8 citations or more. Here I got 9 citations, but still my H-index is 8. In order to increase my H-index to 9, at least 9 of my articles should receive 9 or more citations. But here 9 of my articles got 8 citations only. So my H-index is 8. So this is the way how H-index is calculated. There's a formula for that. But in simple sense, people can understand if you explain in this way. So Web of Science, Scopus, and other citation tools provide, for example, Google Scholar also provides H-index. But you need to understand that an H-index in Google Scholar and Scopus and in Web of Science may be different, or it varies. It depends on the number of journals that are indexed in Google Scholar and Web of Science or Scopus. So if you compare Web of Science and Scopus, you will find H-index is more in Scopus because Scopus has more indexed journals. And in Google Scholar, it is even more because Google Scholar indexes everything. So that's the that determines the H-index in each platform. So you should tell this factor to the researchers. And in Google Scholar, Web of Science and Scopus, there are various techniques to find your citation report. So you can show these techniques to the researcher how to find their citation report in Google Scholar, in Web of Science and also in Scopus. These are some of the steps. Anyway, I'm going to show you Google Scholar and Scopus after the presentation. So I'm going to skip this one. This also explains how in Scopus how it works. Now we move to research data management. I will give you an overview of research data management. What is research data? So during the course of the research, everything produced as part of the research is considered as research data. So data that are collected, observed, or created for the purpose of analysis to produce original research results. So that may be your instrument measurement or your Excel sheet or simulation data or survey results. That depends on the research. Social science researchers more on, data in Excel sheet, but the other science areas like biology and medical sciences, the huge data, which is in another format. For example, genome data is a very huge data. So the data depends on the research and research field. So what is research data management? Research data management is planning, collecting, organizing, managing, storage, security, backing up, preserving, and sharing your data throughout the research process. So it starts from the planning stage and end to the dissemination of data after depositing your data, and it explains the ways to disseminate your data. So why research data management is important? We all know about open data, and we talk about open data now. So if you are doing a research with the aid of your institutions, or if it is a public funded research, it's an obligation is as part of the researcher to share his data for the use of the community, and also for the it can be used by other researchers. This is one of the important aspect of data sharing, and also preventing duplication of effort by enabling others to use your data. So what is involved in research data management? Data management plan, creating data, documenting data, accessing and using data, storage and backup. We have already discussed some of the parameters in the previous slide. So these are some of the points we need to consider while going for a research data management plan. So I have explained some of the process in each stage, in planning stage and creating data stage, and in storing stage and sharing stage. some of the process that are involved in each stages. And research data is based on the FAIR principle, is findable, accessible, and interoperable and reusable. So we are talking about open data, and it should be findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. That's a FAIR principle. And these are some of the stages. You can go through the stages. I'll give you the slides. It starts with the RDM essentials, and before starting your project, what you need to do, and during your project, what are all the process involved, and end of your project, what are the process involved in the research data management stages. And one of the important stages is data management plan. So some of the funding agencies and research institutions made it compulsory, especially in the Western world and in European countries. You need to submit a data management plan before starting your research. You need to mention what data you are going to collect, where are you going to store the data, and how it is looked after, and when it is made public. All these parameters you need to mention before starting your research. Then only you would get your research grant. So I'm giving some examples of that data management plan that a researcher needs to submit. And in India, I think it is not compulsory now, because UGC and CSIR and some other institutions, those who are giving funds, they haven't made it compulsory, but I'm sure in near future that would be a compulsory parameter for granting the research fund. So here you can see in the left-hand side, National Institute of Health, US. We need to submit final data set format, documentation, analytic tools for necessary to use the data, data sharing agreements, etc. The same way, National Science Foundation, they have another set of rules. So in common, all the institutions have some common requirements, like you need to describe your data, you need to tell them the standard methodologies of data collection, and ethics and intellectual property rights of the data, and plans for data sharing and access, and finally strategy for long-term preservation. So these are some common steps which all the institutions demand from you before granting the research funds. So in order to help the researchers, there are some tools where you can create your research data management plan. I have mentioned 3 tools here. The most important one is the top one, the DMP tool. So if you go to the DMP tool, you would get the template of each different funding agencies. For example, National Science Foundation. If you are getting fund from National Science Foundation, you can just click on that template, and you need to fill out the details, and you can create your data management plan, and you can print it out, or you can digitally upload or download the DMP from the tool, and you can go back anytime and you can edit it. So it's very convenient tool, DMP tool. It's an open access tool. You can anytime you can access it and just create your data and try to create your data management plan. Another one is DMP online. This one is from University of Edinburgh from UK. The DMP tool is from University of California Curation Center. So you can try both these tools. And another one is from University of Melbourne, RDM plan template. You can go to that tool also. And how DMP tools help researchers? They have a variety of plans, as we discussed, based on the requirement of different funding agencies. You can select your plan and you can create your DMP template. And these are some of the best practices in research data management. You need to teach researchers about file organization and the importance of metadata, and how to deal with the sensitive data, and what are the data sharing techniques, and what are the data citation techniques. So data citation and that metadata are very important parameters, because when you create data, if it doesn't have metadata, nobody is going to understand what is that data about. Even the researcher himself, after 4 or 5 years, he will be confused after seeing his data. So metadata is very important. So guidelines for choosing formats. The basic thing is always go for open format and don't go for proprietary format. If you use proprietary format for sharing for storing your data, after 4 or 5 years, probably that publisher or that organization ceased working and you will be in trouble. You cannot retrieve your data. So always you use open format. These are some of the examples of open formats. For example, XML format, or for our normal Excel sheet, it's a CSV format. So you can refer these formats, and I have given a link here. And if you click on the link, you will get more information about open format files, open file formats. And we discussed about metadata. Metadata is very important. When we talk about metadata, we know as librarians, we know about mark-driven data that we use to describe our books and other bibliographic materials. And we also know about doubling core data that we use in our repository, institutional repositories. But for the research data, these metadata techniques may not be enough to describe research data. So there are different formats for metadata formats for describing research data. So if you go to research data management repositories, you will find many metadata standards. And I have mentioned some of them. Discipline-based metadata examples. For example, to describe agriculture metadata element set, you have AGMES, astronomy visualization data, AVMS. For each subject area has their own metadata standards. So because if you describe agriculture data using the doubling core elements, doubling core has got only 14 elements to describe the data. That may not be enough to describe the scientific fields. For example, they have some special fields to describe. So you need to, it's better to use subject-specific metadata standards. If you click on this link, you would get from details from the Texas Tech University. They have listed subject-specific metadata standards. And you should take care while sharing your sensitive data. So protecting people's identities by anonymizing data were needed, and controlling access to data. This is especially important when we share human data. So if it is sensitive, you need to take care to protect that data if it is not meant for public sharing. And it depends on data sharing is very important to avoid duplication and for the scientific integrity. Scientific integrity means when you conduct a research and you publish your research work, and somebody needs to check your data whether you are telling the right thing, and they would do some experiments to prove that or to endorse your scientific discovery, or they would tell that this is not the correct one. So when you provide the data to the public, that is your integrity. Then anybody can check the validation or validate your data, and you would get more collaboration from other research scholars for doing further research. And these are some of the drivers, and some public expectations are there. For example, if you are using public money, it is your obligation to share your data with the public. And some governments made it compulsory, and also some institutions made it compulsory to share your data. And the data sharing depends on institutional policy. We have discussed about sensitive data. So you need to obey or you need to go with your institutional policy or your funding institutional policy to decide whether you can share the data or for reusing the data. And these are some of the data repository directories. For example, RE3 data, if you click here, you would get all the repositories that are indexed in this directories. And these are some of the individual repositories. For example, Harvard Dataverse, Dryad Digital Repository, Figshare. These are general repositories. You can share any kind of data from any field, from social science or science field. You can share your data. So for example, Harvard Dataverse has many metadata standards. They have more than 10 to 15 metadata standards, and you can select the metadata standard to describe your data. The same way, Dryad Digital Repository and Figshare have their own metadata standard. And another one is Mendeley Data. All these are open access repositories, and anyone can share data. And they have a vetting process. They would analyze your data, not analyze your data. They would check your data whether it is a genuine one, and they would accept in the repositories. And in Harvard Dataverse, even institution can start their account for the institutional basis, or any researcher can store his or her data based on the individual basis. You can just go to Harvard Dataverse and check what are all the options available. And these are some subject-specific repositories. Sometimes, as we mentioned, Harvard Dataverse is a general repository, and the metadata standards which are available there may not be enough to store your data. Then you need to think about the specific subject repositories. And many people asked, like librarians asked, can we do it in DSpace or Greenstone or ePrints? So my answer is, from my experience, it's no, because DSpace has only doubling core metadata, so it may not be enough to describe your data. So if it is a simple data sets, you can always store in DSpace or Greenstone. But for the complex data where you need to describe your data in different way, you need to think about research data repositories. So how libraries can engage in RDM? We are expert in metadata management. We know about what is metadata, how to describe a data. So we can advise them regarding, and also we can help them developing RDM policy, delivering training courses. If we are not very good in these techniques, we can always get help from other libraries and advising on data sharing and citation and setting up data repositories. For example, we can contact Harvard Dataverse and consult them to set up a repository in our institution. Okay. So these are some of the possible library RDM roles. So we can teaching data literacy to the postgraduate students, developing researcher data awareness, providing advice on writing data management plan. So as librarians, first we can go to the data management plan and we can try it out and help our researchers how to make a data management plan for their purpose, and explaining them to the impact of sharing data and how to cite data. Data citing is also very important. And especially when we publish in very good journals, for example, Science Direct or Springer or Wiley, Taylor and Francis, etc. Now they ask for the research data citation also, because they need to validate your research. So in your research paper, you need to cite your data. For citing your data, you need to deposit your data somewhere in repositories like Harvard Dataverse, or you need to set up a repository in your institution. So that's very important. And these are some of the potential challenges. We are not expert in research data management, as librarians, we are expert in managing resources like databases or books or journals. We are expert, but in the data management, we are not experts. So we need to equip ourselves and get trained in research data management, attend more seminars, more workshops, and then teach our or make aware our researchers in this area. And another question is, will researchers look to libraries for this support? Of course, they would. Come to you, because they know that librarians are very helpful in helping them to find out their resources. And if your library is very active in research engagement, they would definitely come to you. And we have covered many areas that we need to take care of to support the researchers. So finally, we need to document it. We need to provide links of these guides, or how to help them. For example, you can provide guide on how to use a database and how to search for information, how to use reference management tool, and all these guides you can provide on a LibGuides or Subject Plus guide, which is an open source one. So these are that's the end of the session, and I will show you now how to export your articles metadata from Google Scholar to your OrcID profile. And also I would show you some only 1 or 2 minutes are needed to show Scopus, how to find your Scopus ID. Mr. Tripathi, shall I?
Yeah, you can stop sharing and you can share your user.
So this is Google Scholar homepage. You can see here 3 lines, parallel lines here. So just click on that line. Then you will find the settings. Click on the settings. Then you would find library links. Oh, sorry. Actually, I'm going to show you how to set up library links on your Google Scholar platform. So I'll repeat again. Click on the 3 lines here, then settings, and click on the library links and search for your institution. For example, I'm searching for Zayed University, or I will search some Indian institutions. For example, Aligarh Muslim University. Recently, they set up a Google Scholar link. Yeah, you can see here. What is Aligarh? Yeah. Aligarh Muslim University, get full text via MAL AMU. Just click on that and save. Okay. So after saving your settings, you can search anything. For example, let me search for the virus. Sorry. Yeah, I have a link here, get full text via MAL AMU. So if you click on that link, it would directly take you to the AMU website. So if you are on campus, it would ask you for your university credentials. And if you enter the credential, you will, for example, they have open Athens account. So if I enter my account, I can get the full text easily. So this is how you can set up your library links on Google Scholar. So I will show you how to export your data from Google Scholar. So you need to sign in for that. Then you have my profiles. I have already signed in using your Google account. Then click on the my profile. Then it would show you all your publications. Then click on the title here, or you can select one or two titles that you want to export. So I'm selecting 2 titles, or you can select everything together. Then you have an export option here. Click on the export option and export in BibTeX format. And Control C, Control V, copy this and copy it in a notepad. I think you cannot see my notepad information, right? Yeah, no problem. So you can share, you can store it in a notepad as BibTeX in BibTeX format, and later you can go to the OrcID profile, and I will show you OrcID. So I have already created an account in OrcID. So I sign into OrcID. So here you have your biography, you can fill it. Then your employment, you can fill it. Then your educational qualification. Then invited positions and distinctions. Then membership. Then funding. Then finally works. So in works, you have an add option here. In the add option, you have various options to add your works into reference. The first one is search and link. Click on the search and link. Yeah, then you have various resources or various databases from where you can import your data. So the main thing is Scopus. You can click here Scopus Elsevier. Then follow the links. You know, just click SSS. Then all your Scopus data would be imported into your OrcID profile. That is one method. And the second method is just click on Add Works, import BibTeX data. So we have already saved our BibTeX data that we exported from Google Scholar. I hope you remember the previous steps.
Yes.
So, yeah, yes. Okay, then choose files and all that BibTeX file where we saved that file and just save OK. Then all those articles or documents will be imported into your OrcID profile. But you need to see one thing. If you have already connected the Scopus, probably you will find some duplication of data. Normally, usually this OrcID would check duplication based on the DOI. But when we take from Google Scholar, some of the articles may not have DOI data. So you will find duplicate data. Then you can check it manually and delete if something is duplicate. Here is a delete option here. You can delete that data. Okay, now I will show you Scopus. Most of you are aware about Scopus and you are expert in Scopus management, but I just want to show others who are not have access to Scopus. So I need to sign in. Don't have access. Sorry. Okay, so this is the Scopus homepage. You have 2 options to search for authors. Either you can search from here, or you can search from documents itself and selecting author field from here, authors. So there are two methods. We can select from here. And there are various options. If you have your org ID, you can directly search using your org ID. Otherwise, you can use the last name and first name. So I'm searching for one of my sign or author in my university. And if you provide the affiliation, that would be easier to find the person, because some names are very common. So it would be difficult to find out. So let me give Khalifa. This is my previous institution. Let me search for this author. Okay, yeah. You can see here, he was our president in Khalifa University. Now he left the university. So Mr. Todd Lawson, you can see here, he has some name variations: Lawson Todd A, Lawson TA, Lawson Todd L. But you can request Scopus to merge your profiles if you have name variations. So he has done that. So all his profiles are now in one place. So if you click on this, it will show you his H-index, and also all the details like total citations, how many citations he received. His H-index is 32. How many documents are indexed in Scopus, and also he can connect to org ID. So there are two methods to connect to your org ID. You can either connect from the Scopus platform. You can see here this option, connect to org ID, or you can go to the org ID platform and connect it to org ID, sorry, Scopus. And if you have any multiple other profiles or something, you can click here, edit other profiles. You can help your researchers. If your researchers have more than one profile, sorry, Scopus profile, just ask them to edit other profile and send a request to Scopus. Then they would investigate the matter and reply within 1 or 2 weeks, and they would combine the IDs. So this is how Scopus works, and you can see the details of each paper authored by Mr. Todd Lawson, Dr. Todd Lawson, and how many times it is cited. And you can filter by highest cited ones or the newest one, etc. So that's all about Scopus, and the Science also works in the same way. So now I think everything is clear. Like we have discussed recap, like how to search for information and where to publish. And then we talked about the research data management and also some IDs, research profiles. How can we help researchers, and how can we help them to create their org ID and import data from other sources to their org ID profile, how to import from Scopus, and how to import from Google Scholar, etc. So I think we have covered all the topics that I have mentioned earlier. So let me stop sharing my screen. So Mr. Tripathi.
Sir, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to express my sincere thanks on behalf of all the participants and my own behalf for having very elaborative session, and you have covered almost every point related to research and how we can support research from library or being a library professional. So really, sir, hearty thanks to you for throwing light on every aspect. Now, with your kind permission, the session we can open for question answer.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So very quickly, we can have few questions. If I request participants, if you have any question, just drop your question in the chat box. So I'll read out the question and sir will be answering the question accordingly. So the first question, sir, is regarding the research. It is related to researcher. in the digital era, or you can say that many researchers, they put a lot of efforts in collecting the data and working on the different fields related to their research topic. So it is very difficult for the library professional or the person who is involved in research data management to convince them to submit the data to the research data center. So how do you suggest to convince them or to give them hope that whatever they are going to share with the research data center, their data is going to be safe? And so this is one major challenge with library professional to convince the researchers to submit the data. How do you suggest, sir, in this regard?
Okay, that's an excellent question. Actually, we do not have a practice to share our data, especially in India. It's not compulsory as of now. So when government takes initiatives to make it compulsory, especially for the public funded research, so that's a prerequisite. When you apply for your grant, you need to submit your DMP, that is data management plan. So you are agreeing to all the conditions that you would share the data at the end of your research. But there's some questions about sensitive data. So your institutions, your government, your funding agencies are aware of that. So in those cases, you need to protect that data. In the modern research data management repositories, they have all the measures to protect your sensitive data and to share only the public data. So they have all the security measures. I had attended a webinar from the Harvard Dataverse. So they were explaining all the security measures that they have to protect the sensitive data and only share the data. So it's actually for the librarians' duties, when it becomes compulsory, we need to help them to manage the research data management plan. So at this stage, it is not compulsory, but still we can help them to guide them to use the correct open standards for storing their data. And those kind of initial activities we can still support, and also finding data repositories if they are willing to share their data. So the rest of the steps we cannot tell anything about that now. Thanks.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for your answer. Next question is from Mr. Muhammad A. Siddiqui. His question is that what is the role of impact factor in research? He just is interested to know that role of impact factor in research.
Okay, so I will tell it as an example. For example, I published a research. So what is the measure that to know that others are using my research? So when they cite my research, it's an indication that other researchers are utilizing my research. But it's not a correct indication, because some researchers just read my research and take the content from my research, but it's and that they do not cite me. It's not an ethical practice, but it is happening. But in the scientific field, it's considered that citations are one of the important parameters for evaluating or a research. It's not the qualitative evaluation, but it's a quantitative evaluation. How many persons are citing you? And now research universities and other institutions, they recognize these metrics for measuring the impact of a researcher. So there are various measurements, like one is impact factor. Impact factor is really from Web of Science. It's a plain measurement, like number of citations received divided by number of articles. But there are some other metrics like H-index that we have already discussed, I-10 index, and there are different metrics. So the basis of all of these metrics is that how many times your articles are getting cited. So that is very important for a researcher.
Thank you, sir. Another question, sir, from I would like to ask you that how do you see the future of research data management practice in India in comparison to European country or Western countries?
In India, as we already discussed, it's in the initial stage. Some institutions are taking some initiatives, and I'm sure in future the funding agencies and the government would take initiatives and make it compulsory, at least for the public funded research. And also there would be, pressure from other researchers or from the public to get the research data for future use. So may not be in a very near future, but at least within 4 or 5 years, I expect that some institutions would set up their repositories. And you remember that 10 years or 12 years ago, there were only few institutional repositories in India, right? So many library science organizations and schools and other universities started giving workshops and seminars on IRs and how to set it up. Now you can see that most of the universities have their own IR. So in the same way, in the near future, or at least within 5 to 10 years, we will see a lot of seminars, workshop on this area, and many institutions will start implementing their research data repository. That is my view.
Thank you very much for your elaborative session and also attending the question from the participants. On behalf of all the participants and my own behalf, I express my sincere thanks to you, sir, for your valuable time and delivering an excellent presentation. You have covered every aspect and every point related to research, from right from the data collection until the management of research data in a very effective way. So thank you very much, sir. And we means definitely, I think the participants also would have benefited them by listening to you. And also, as you said that you will be sharing the PPT, so I'll share with all the participants who joined the program today. So thank you again, sir, from bottom of my heart and on behalf of all the participants to join us and throwing lights on different aspects related to research and scholarly communication. So thank you very much for joining us. So wish you all a very happy and fruitful day ahead. Sir, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So shall we conclude the session now?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks
sir.
to all
Thank you
for
very
joining.
much. Stay safe, stay healthy, sir.
Yes, thanks.